Hey, everybody. Welcome to a special extra episode of Den Excelsior. It's going to be a short one, and it's just because after our podcast last night, I ended up waking up this morning and still thinking about that episode of WandaVision, episode 6, the all new spectacular Halloween episode. And while we had predictions last night, I came up with one this morning, and it killed me because, it made so much more sense the more and more I thought about it. So I started sharing it with Clark and Frank and Ricky. Unfortunately, Ricky can't make it right now. He's out and about. But yeah, the more and more we thought about it, the more we're like, we should get this recorded because it seems pretty legit.
What if he's right?
What if he's right? What if he's right? And so I just didn't want to get this. I didn't want to come back next Friday after episode 7's aired, and it's become painfully obvious that the theory is correct.
And just so you know, I did a little Google search trying to see if I could find this theory anywhere else on the net, and I was not successful.
There's one, and I posted it in the chat. Yeah, I posted it in our private chat that we.
It's one, but it's not as cool as mine.
It's yeah.
Yeah,
it leans on the cartoons, which I'm sure Feige's not mining information.
Yeah, so without further ado, we're gonna just try and really quickly explain this theory and see. And please, in the when you get a chance in the comments, let us know what you think of this theory, and let us know next week or when the new episode of our live stream comes out, what you think of the theory after the new episode of WandaVision airs. So here we go. I started by looking at or remembering something that I meant to mention in the podcast, which was the name of the project that Hayward had in his computer, and it was Cataract. And I know Cataract is something to do with your eyes and stuff. So I looked it up, and sure enough, a cataract is a clouding of the natural lens of your eye that causes your vision to appear hazy. Cataracts happens gradually as your eyes get older, and the natural lens will eventually need to be removed and replaced with an artificial intraocular lens in order for you to see clearly. And so I was like, that's really on the nose, man. That's really on the nose. And so I started thinking about a lot of things. And I know I mentioned in the podcast, isn't it kind of weird how WandaVision, Wanda's eyes at the end of episode 6 were really red, like Ultron's, and the more and more I thought about it, the more I started realizing, what if we've been wrong about this whole Mephisto thing, or Agatha Harkness, or all these supernatural possibilities that are manipulating Wanda? And what if the reason her whole sitcom reality looks like The Matrix or any other, computerized sim is because it is a computerized sim? And what if it's Ultron? That's what we came to, is what if it's actually Ultron returned? And what if Ultron came back because of Hayward? Because Hayward actually had made it very clear that SWORD is no longer just observing and responding to sentient weapons. He said this to Monica in season 3 or episode 3. He said that they are now also building robotics, nanotech, and AI to help protect the Earth, And then in this new episode, we saw that Hayward is actually really bitter about the blip, right? About the original blip. He's
really bitter towards superheroes, superpowered people.
Exactly. Really bitter towards superpowered people. And we know, because of what Hayward told us, that SWORD had Vision's body at their facility. And so what if after the first snap happened, Hayward, who was now reluctantly in charge of SWORD because Monica's mom eventually passed, right? What if Hayward started investing resources into experimenting on Vision and created some sort of AI that was really just
unlocked a certain AI
that lay
dormant
Exactly.
In his vibranium body.
Peace in our time. Peace in our time.
Our time.
And so, exactly. That's what Ultron wanted. He wanted peace in our time. And that's because that's what Tony used to say, right?
And remember, Vision said, I don't want to kill Ultron.
Yeah, he didn't want to. And
He's
Ultron
unique.
and Ultron is one of the only villains that died off screen in his movie. For the villains that died, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I got to thinking about more and more is, what if Disney Plus, the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe thing, they do want to lean on Disney Plus to connect TV shows to movies, but what if they still want to have their own space? Like, what if the purpose of Disney Plus shows is to promote villains that maybe didn't get their due the first time around? And we know that the Winter Soldier and Falcon, one of the main villains in that is going to be Zemo from Civil War. We know that Loki's getting his own show. And we also know that it's been announced that the Abomination will be returning in She-Hulk. So it looks like a really perfect place to bring back the surviving villains, while not, making the movie-going experience kind of sucky. Because, nobody wants to go see, 4 Superman movies and Lex Luthor's the bad guy in all of them, right? That's
that'd
dumb.
be dumb if they did that. They shouldn't.
Yeah,
they
right.
shouldn't do that.
Exactly. So this gives the villains a chance to come back. And so the more and more I started talking with Clark and Frank, the more they were hating my idea at first, or maybe mostly Frank. Sorry. It was a roller coaster. Frank liked it at first. Then he didn't like it. And then somehow I got him back on board.
No, I still don't like it. I don't like the idea, just to be clear.
Well, on board believing it.
Yeah. Believing it and liking it are two different things. I think I believed it from the beginning, because I think anything that you tell me that Marvel does, I think I'll accept. If Marvel wanted to make it arcade, cool, I accept it. If Marvel wanted to make it Mojo, Golden Balls, I don't care. That's fine. I'm sure MCU has their reasons, but to believe it, to actually, for it to fit, Golden Balls doesn't make sense in the context of the universe, but Ultron does, and that's why I can believe it, but not really like it.
See, I think this is a very strong possibility. I'm not convinced that it is. I think there's still, room for other options, but reading, your arguments for it, and then looking at the little pieces, and especially, as you said, something that I noticed, and we all noticed, that every single time a WandaVision episode ends, it always ends on "Go watch Age of Ultron," which I have done.
Now it doesn't do that for me. It does that maybe for you guys, but
really.
Well, because I watched Age of Ultron or Sarah did.
Do you have Canadian Disney Plus?
Well, we're close to the border, so possibly. But no, we watched all those separately. So I get Iron Man 3 in a lot of them, and in some of them I get there was another. It was Guardians of the Galaxy 2 for some reason.
Interesting.
Okay, I just thought that it was recommending the same thing to everybody. Yeah, because I always thought it was funny that every time my episodes ended with the credits and stuff.
Well, definitely put that in the comments. If you know, what do you see when you finish a WandaVision episode?
Okay, well, I mean, in fairness, I didn't know, but that's interesting to know. But having gone back and rewatched scenes from Age of Ultron, I will point out that there is a very peculiar quote from Ultron where he says, "People create smaller people, no, children." I lost the word there. Children designed to supplant them, to help them end.
Whoa, hey, Clark, I can't see very well. Was that James Spader on our show? I can't see very well. Was that
it was pretty good, right? Give me my Oscar.
Good Spader impression.
Yeah, but that's literally what this show has been, right? Is helping Wanda make children
from episode 1 all the way till present,
all the way through. That's been the point.
How to create artificial life.
Yeah, exactly. And they didn't believe it was possible to make children either, right? So I think the trick with the MCU is they love to lean into fans, like hardcore fans, knowledge of the stories to get people hyped on stuff. But then they do misdirects, right? Like they love doing that kind of thing. They love to go and make a hard left somewhere else and do something different that's kind of more fun and accessible to everybody that's been watching. So when this show was first announced and we knew that there was possibly going to be kids in it and stuff, we were kind of hoping for it. And Marvel was recommending things to go read, right? They're like, oh, go read the Scarlet Witch or Vision and the Scarlet Witch miniseries from the 1980s and stuff. And that's the one where, you know, they end up making kids, right? And they have, and that ends up being revealed to be Mephisto. And so there's these connections that we as fans start making, even though the show didn't, like, you know, the show or the showrunners didn't explicitly tell us that that's what was going to happen, or even if they hinted at it, it was very much in the background or anything like that, right?
Or the Tom King miniseries also.
Yeah.
That has like Sparky, and Agatha Harkness also plays a part in there.
Exactly. And so I think there's been a lot of fun Easter eggs that have been put into the show that keep us wanting to see a Mephisto show up. But like I was saying last night, guys, we're like 6 episodes deep. This is going to be a really hard thing for audiences to accept if like the devil shows up in the last 3 episodes. It doesn't really work, right? And I was joking, I've been theory crafting with Frank for a couple weeks now, and I've been saying, like, I generally like to apply like Law and Order type rules, you know, that you met the bad guy in the first act, or you met him previously at some point early on in the story. And so if we look at just WandaVision as a story on its own, well, we did meet Hayward really early, like in the fourth episode.
No, it was the fourth. Yeah, the fourth.
Well, I mean, if you count 1 and 2 as 2 separate episodes.
Yeah, I mean, we met.
If you count him as one, we met him in the third.
We met Hayward in week 3, right? We met him in week 3 of this 8-week process. And you know, and in fairness, even though that was 4 episodes in, 1 and 2 were really short, and we just didn't know all the players involved until episode 4,
but
right?
Also, chronologically, he was a part of it before we started watching it, right? Because
they
put together the show and everything, so it's like, it's like a prequel. So I mean, you can get around that.
Yeah,
if Hayward's the big bad,
and he's technically the first person to show us flashbacks, right? Like he showed us a recording from before this show started.
WandaVision happened, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, your list of suspects is pretty small. It's like, it's the people in the town, which we know nothing about, so that'd be kind of weird. You know, Agnes is a possible, but she also seems to be kind of being affected by the things going on. And then outside of town, you got Jimmy, Darcy, Monica, and Hayward. And I mean, we know it's not Monica. Like, we just, you know what I mean? Like, we know that the purpose of Monica is just to set up future stories later. And we know it's not Darcy and Jimmy because
do we?
They're just exposition monsters, and they're comic relief as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so Hayward's the only person that's actually given us lots of motive and lots of background and history that serves this theory, right? Like with the letting us know about Sword's new agenda, letting us know how bitter he is about the snap.
And then having deep, dark secrets that Darcy started to uncover.
Yeah, exactly. And showing us that he's actually been capable of monitoring inside the town, right?
And his general untrustworthiness of hiding weapons inside the drone and not telling Monica, compartmentalizing knowledge.
Yeah. So I think whatever this was an experiment started by him, and whether or not he meant to target it on Wanda, that's what ended up happening. And once somebody he cared about, like Monica, was potentially hurt from this thing, and he saw that this thing was threatening potentially everybody, he suddenly took a very aggressive approach to trying to kill Wanda, right? Because Wanda, if this is Ultron's not able to do this on his own. I think Ultron is pumping up Wanda, right? And reverse. Like, I think Wanda is the battery that's serving, or that's helping Ultron expand.
Well, I mean, I said Wanda's the engine, and I would still stick with that because she's but Ultron is the
mainframe,
the computer that tells the engine, the fuel injector or stuff. It's controlling the engine. It's controlling the.
What is happening? I was just saying. Okay,
we're getting into the car
engine,
metaphor too much.
Vision's the car, and Ultron is that device you have plugged into the cigarette lighter. It's leaching. He's leaching energy off of this whole thing,
right? Yes. And that would kind of tie in with that commercial that I was super confused about last night, right?
Yo Magic.
The Yo Magic commercial, right? But like that shark basically said that he was always hungry until he started feeding on Yo Magic.
Yo Magic.
You know what I mean? Like as literally your magic.
Why do we tilt our heads when we say Yo Magic? Magic.
We just have to. We just have to. It's a thing.
That's so fine. But and to your point, like also that shark also resembles Ultron. Like he's an apex predator. He's kind of big and gray, imposing, and deadly looking. Like just from the onset.
We find out later, voiced by James Spader.
Incredible.
Yeah. No. That was something else I realized. Like this is something that they could easily have kept under wraps too, because Ultron doesn't need to have a physical body to be a threat on this show. He can just be a crazy, Skynet gone mad.
In the 90s, Matthew Broderick, when he recorded some of his lines for The Lion King, they sent him microphones to do it. Like he recorded himself with the microphones that they sent. So, I mean, now we're in like 2020, right? Or 2021. Holy crap.
We're in 2021 and every actor has microphones in their home to do this.
That's what I'm saying. So like James Spader can easily do work from home and
without anybody ever knowing about it, other than the people that need to know about it, right?
Yep. They can't even take like publicity pictures or like hide in his bushes or something.
Yeah.
I want next week to come even faster.
Yeah. And then the other thing that kind of cements this for me is I know that like Kevin Feige has always been a champion of Avengers Age of Ultron. He that Joss Whedon directed Avengers and everybody loved it because it was written and directed by Joss Whedon. But Avengers Age of Ultron was directed by Joss Whedon, and they like to say he wrote it, but he doesn't like to say he wrote it. He likes to complain about the fact that movie was riddled with executives tampering with his movie, right? Like every bit of the creative process was Disney and Marvel feeding him notes for things that would go on to feed like the rest of the Marvel universe. And, and then he kind of parted ways with them after that one because he just couldn't see himself doing another one. And
then he did an amazing DC movie right after.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? And maybe it's better for the Marvel universe that he's gone off to do other stuff because everybody else has like just taken the threads that were set up in that movie and just blown them up into amazing things, right? And it's like every movie that comes out after Age of Ultron has retroactively made Age of Ultron a better story and
more relevant.
Yeah. And so I can't help but think that Kevin Feige's not done making that movie more and more relevant by doing this. And to me, honestly, when I saw that movie, it hurt my soul that villain just was wrapped up so nicely at the end. Because like I'm usually fine with superhero movies defeating the bad guy and it just being done in that one story. But like Ultron is like Brainiac or the Terminator. You can't beat them. They never stop coming. You know,
and I'm really with you in that. I think almost more exciting than hero returns are a good villain return.
Yeah.
And when you have a good villain return that you weren't expecting, but then you realize was built up. That's sometimes more exciting than finding out, we're getting Deadpool 3 years.
Well, two things I want to add to that. One, when I get a computer virus, like I can't get rid of that. Sometimes I have to just straight up like reset or re-download Windows or some crap like that, right?
Exactly.
And number two, a good hero and villain return, like case in point, when Red Skull showed up in what was it? Endgame, I think it was. When he shows up in Endgame. Like that was like, what the hell? Like Red Skull shows up? That's cool. Okay, cool. That's a cool little nod.
Yeah.
So it was a good return, I think. So there's a precedent set for a dead villain returning in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this possibility because, like, I think there's a lot of seeds that have been planted throughout the whole show that have been suggesting it, and I think it feeds in, Clark. I think it feeds into your theory that that the simulation is growing, or whatever's controlling Wanda in this simulation is actually becoming more sophisticated with each iteration of the sitcom, right?
Yep.
Like that's literally what's happening here is Ultron is feeding off of Wanda, and she's unable to like do a lot to protect herself, but she is doing what she can, right? By pulling in people that she perceives to be allies. So maybe Agnes is Agatha Harkness, and maybe she's somebody that Wanda sensed could help her, and she pulled her in. Maybe Monica was somebody that Wanda perceived as an ally, and that's why she yanked her into the bubble.
And why the beekeeper wasn't yanked into the bubble.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is why Wanda reached out in desperation and ripped a hole in reality and pulled in a Pietro from another reality. And that would explain why all of these people that she pulled in are somehow aware, because they weren't part of the simulation when it started, right? Like they, and possibly Herb, who knows? I'm not sure about Herb. But yeah, it seems possible that all of these things could be explained by Wanda.
Good, solid theory.
Wanda resisting Ultron's control over her. And I think the most fun part about it is like, what are you saying?
Yes.
Oh, yes. You're doing your Herb impersonation.
My man, slow down.
Yeah.
Looking
so
good.
What do you guys think? Do you have anything else to add to this one before we sign off?
There was a couple things that you brought up that I liked. You said about the hexadecimal, like all the hexes. I think that would be a good little aside.
We just assumed that hex meant
hex magic.
Hex magic.
Because
but
again, he's going off of what we know as Marvel fans and kind of subverting that, which is interesting. It was also pointed out that one of the diplomas or whatever in Hayward's office is shaped like a hexagon also, and they're all like, why would it be shaped like that? Well, maybe
no, they're arranged kind of in a hexagon.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sorry, that's kind of weak.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I didn't bring that one up. That wasn't.
Yeah, no, that's something I saw on the net.
Yeah, it's something I saw on the net. But hexagons do show up in nature. I mean, it is a nature thing, so it doesn't necessarily have to be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But in this case, it makes sense for it to mean hexadecimal. That would be a fun little subversion, I think.
Yeah, but I think more specifically, just all the magic in this show doesn't look like the magic that we've ever seen Wanda do or Doctor Strange do, or any of Doctor Strange's enemies in that movie, right? This unless Wanda's yeeting somebody across the town, it doesn't look like her magic. It looks like the Matrix or Rick and Morty or any computer simulation, right? The way it glitches and the way people repeat their movement and stuff like that.
Well, it looks the way the way the show or the way the sitcom era is like it. Like for Bewitched, it was like little stars. For the Brady Bunch, it was like cloud of dust.
Right.
But you're right. That doesn't look like anything we've seen before. It looks like whatever's. It looks like it's time period. It's whatever time period it's supposed to take place.
Right. But even the hex itself, it looks like TV interference, right? Like the way it looks outside. It doesn't look like something Wanda does normally.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the force field always looked like a static TV, or like with the RGB little lights.
Yeah.
I always liked that touch. For me, the thing that really starts cementing it was bringing up the children, and the idea of, as you read that quote from Ultron, and the idea that now that she can create, because I was only locked on her twin sons that I knew were coming, but then the idea, all the other children and that concept, I think provides more support to it, because I was too focused on just oh, there's Wiccan and Speed, you know, and now that makes more sense in the broader thing of, because Ultron was always about replicating himself. I mean, that's why he was creating Vision. He wanted to be a real boy. There's the Pinocchio part was not put in there by accident.
And why couldn't Ultron be the one creating these sitcoms? Because Ultron was literally the robot singing a song from 1948's Pinocchio. You know what I mean? Like,
one of the things that you said that I enjoyed was that in the Brady Bunch episode, he was named by name, and they haven't named any other bad guy. They did say the devil's in the details in the second episode.
Yeah,
but it's like Mephisto isn't really the devil, right? He's an extra dimensional being,
right?
So Ultron was mentioned by name, so that kind of holds a lot of weight.
Yeah, and not only mentioned by name, but he's also a villain that has appeared before this story that fans of the MCU are familiar with, right? So like, he technically, if you look outside of the show, he still fulfills those Law and Order rules where like it has to be somebody we've met before, right? And we have met him, just not in this show. So yeah.
But also Mr. Hart was mentioned in the first episode, so that brings Bret the Hitman Hart into the MCU, and I'm excited for that crossover to happen.
Yes,
I'm just waiting for her to be, in the town and have a guy in a trench coat and a hat turn, and it's James Spader, and he just says, "Hello, Wanda."
Oh my God, like James Spader from The Blacklist or something like that. Yeah,
that would be great. Yes,
freaking tastic.
But I'm really excited about this one, guys, and I just think we just had thank you guys for coming and just helping me like work this out, and talk it out with me all day today too. I think there's something here. I think Ultron is our bad guy. As much as hardcore fans keep selling their wives and their girlfriends and their boyfriends and stuff, no, it's the devil. We promise. I just don't think there's any like hard evidence to show that it's going to be the devil. I think a new villain like the devil deserves a movie, right? Like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness or something like that. Like,
sure.
Yeah. So we can there's always time, but I'm all in favor of a villain coming back to like do something new that they've never done before. And like I was telling you, Frank, if at the end of the day this is nothing more than Ultron returning, at least Ultron gave us the Wanda that we always deserved, right?
Yeah.
Like she's super powerful now. So yeah,
the Sokovian fortune teller.
Exactly.
Like I said earlier, all you're going to get from me today is that's a viable theory. But I am more than happy to ride your coattails if your theory is correct.
And what else did you say you'll do if it's correct?
I said I'd kick my TV if Stellan Skarsgård shows up and starts dropping information.
No, if Ultron's the villain,
I will play. Okay, so yeah, you're right. I will get my kazoo out, and I will play "We Are the Champions" on the kazoo in honor of Dennis. I want Dennis to do like a victory lap while I'm playing "We Are the Champions."
That's a beautiful thing.
I probably won't do an actual victory lap because I'm kind of stuck in here in this little booth area, but I will gladly take "We Are the Champions" on kazoo. And if you guys out there watching and listening have a better theory or have stuff to add to this theory, feel free to reply and keep tuning into us on Fridays at 8 p.m. Pacific. And feel free to like, follow, and subscribe. And you can find us on Twitter and Instagram and all those other ones too, as well as Patreon as well. So
if you guys have a Twitter, actually, Dennis posted this at length on his Twitter feed. So you can feel free to follow him and respond to that.
Man, I posted it, and then like 5 minutes after I posted my whole theory, like Trump got acquitted, and now like that's the entire media cycle for the day on Twitter. So it's like, oh, great. I guess nobody's going to read that tweet.
It was going to be you. You were barely beaten out.
It was almost me.
It was your due.
and then politics got in the way. That's always the case when it comes to superhero stuff. Oh well. Well, thanks, guys. And yeah, we'll see you guys on Friday. Just to
Excelsior.
See how, yes. Enough said.